Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I thought today we would talk about the KV-7 U-13. This is the new tank destroyer that was part of the Dreams Come True event this year, which follows quite a history of some pretty cool vehicles. Stuff like, of course, the TOG, the Sturmtiger, and also many others that we've seen in the past. The KV-7 itself is a unique vehicle. It is interesting. I generally like the way that it's set up, and I think it's really awesome. But it's not really a great vehicle. I feel like people are going to try and sell this vehicle as something that it isn't in terms of its firepower and in terms of its survivability, and I just don't see it with this vehicle, especially at 4.0. After playing it yesterday to complete the Pages of History event, which is actually where this thing is going to shine the most, since it's in that kind of 4.0 bracket where USSR has a lot of Pages of History events, you're going to be able to run this with a lot of other 4.0s, such as the BTR 152D, some of the T-34s, and also some other vehicles, and that will mean that you'll be able to actually get those lineups up to rank 3, so you can do your dailies with it, which actually is, fantastic, but also you can run them in those lineups and have a bit of fun in a down tier. But the vehicle itself doesn't really have a lot of factors that make it great, and that's because of the competition that has been lowered in BR because of the KV-1s being so dominant for the longest time. Now, what do I mean by this? There was a time where the Jumbo faced the Panzer IV F2, okay? This was a horrific time for the Germans around those BRs, when the Jumbo was a lot lower in BR, and guess what? The Jumbo got upped twice, I think, or maybe even 3 times, to get them out of that bracket and make it so they have to be more reliant on their armor instead of some of their other characteristics, such as their gun and also the 50 cal. When it came to CAS as well, Germany got bullied a lot, because even with standard 50 cals, you can pen through the top of many Panzer IVs and Panzer IIIs, and also all the tank destroyers that are around those BRs. This is why in the German tech tree, you have these huge gaps between basically 3.7 and 5.7, and the only things that are in those gaps are the tank destroyers, because all of the medium tanks got bullied so much by stuff like the Jumbo, stuff like the KV-1s, and also the CAS elements that are around. Now the Jumbos went up. The KV-1s mostly went up, apart from the B and the E for some reason. Not going to get into that right now, but yeah, that's ridiculous. Anyway, so everything else went up, but the CAS elements were still strong and still annihilate, even to this day. So when you have a vehicle like the KV-7 U-13 that comes into the game in the Soviet tech tree at 4.0, guess what you have to deal with? All of those German vehicles that have been lowered in BR, and then also stuff like the Sherman, which has the vertical stabilizer, which hasn't gone up in BR, and also has the round, which can penetrate pretty much straight through you. So those are going to be your main competition with this type of vehicle. So even though the KV-7 U-13, it has the good 76mm F-34, it has, the 245s that are quite fun. I've actually been enjoying using them in tandem in different ways. The thing that this vehicle needs to rely on is its armor, and it can't do that, because what ends up happening is you face vehicles that will just cane you. The Panzer IVs, with their long-barreled 75, can just go straight through your armor, and that is a problem, because it means you have absolutely no survivability. You can just get pierced straight through your flat parts, and you will just die in one shot. Same with the driver's ports. You just have a button where you can just get shot and die. Not exactly fantastic. You're also still on a KV chassis, which means that you are pretty mobile for a heavy tank, but this is not a heavy tank, this is a tank destroyer. So what you have instead is the problem that a lot of other tank destroyers have, such as the Su-152s and also others. You have limited traverse on your guns, you have pretty poor gun depression, even though the guns are mounted very high, and it just means that you're in a horrific situation to be able to get counterfire off, while other things can just annihilate you from pretty much anywhere. So even though it is, a tank destroyer, and you can get the dailies done, you can get the specials done, you've got the rank 3, so you can do all of the events and everything with it, it's still in a position where it will get dominated by a lot of vehicles on the battlefield, which are just better than it. Now, does that mean you can't have fun in the machine? Of course, it doesn't mean that. You can have fun in this machine, especially in a down tier, because your armor, especially when angled, will be able to stop a lot of vehicles, and against those Panzer IVs that I talked about, you can actually trade with them very efficiently with the 76mm. The 45 can even go through a lot of them as well, and you can have a bit of fun with it. But the general vehicle itself is not going to do well against a lot of the competition that's around, especially the meta vehicles that you're going to run into, and that's kind of the problem. The other part of the rank 3 thing that I talked about is there is already a bunch of other vehicles at rank 3 that exist at 4.0 that can up-tier the lineup anyway. So the BTR-152D, the T-34, the T-34 First Guards is actually at rank 2, but the BM-3112, for example, the KV-1E, if you have access to that, which is just a fundamentally better vehicle than what you have in terms of the KV-7. Then you have the I-185, M82, and also the LA-5FN, which are staples of this lineup, and then also you have the SU-152, which is also at rank 3, which can fill exactly the same role as this one, apart from it has a different set of guns on it. So when I look at stuff like the KV-7, what I see is something that is great as an event vehicle. It's different, it's unique, it's interesting, and overall very nice, but it's not a vehicle that I see that is going to dominate games. And I feel like in full down tiers, or maybe even at its tier, because there isn't a ton of armor going around, and when it comes to Shermans, you're able to, pen the top of them, which makes it easy to destroy them. When it comes to Panzer IVs and Pumas, you can also tear them apart. But if you run into Churchills, or if you run into anything that people are going to run now, because of the fact that there's going to be a lot of KV-7s around, you're not going to be able to do anything against them, and that is going to be the problem. So for me, it's a cool event vehicle. I'm super happy to see it. I don't think it's going to go up in BR. I saw people talking about it going up in BR. I'd be amazed if it does go up in BR, but I feel like where it is at this point is fine. Like, it's fine where it is. In a down tier, it's great. At its BR, it's okay, and in an up tier, it gets destroyed. And I would rather take stuff like the T-34, which has the same firepower, better mobility, and of course the turret, which makes a huge difference. I would trade all that armor on the KV-7, which can be easily penned by many guns, for the T-34 any day of the week. So for me, the KV-7 is fine where it's at. Hopefully they don't move it. Now remember, with the KV-7, there is the other event, which is going to be starting pretty soon, which is Chasing the Older Brother, where you're going to have a chance of getting access to the IS-7. That one starts on the 15th, so in a few days, and then you have basically 3 days where you can get access to 15 tickets overall and put yourself in the hat for the IS-7 event. So make sure to get started on that. Some people have asked me, is it worth paying for the Marks of Distinction for this vehicle? The question the answer would be no. I don't think, if you're just looking at this vehicle in terms of how much it would cost to get all the Marks of Distinction, what you get out of it is not what you want. I would prefer to get something like the 1st Guards Tank Brigade T-34, or as I said, stuff like the KV-1E, which actually would be cheaper to get as it goes along. But if you're a collector, this is a vehicle that, you'll probably have to get, since it is unique and different, and it probably won't come back until the 20th anniversary of the game. So that's also something to take into account for the vehicle. Overall, I enjoyed playing this event though. I thought it was quite good. The event itself being only 35k was quite nice. Wasn't really happy that it didn't have like a unique camo attached to the event. I think that would have been quite good, and also no loading screen or anything like that. Kind of is a bit of a bummer for this event. It was quite a bare bones event in terms of what you got out of it. No title either, and obviously no coupon for the vehicle either. So a very, very bare bones event. So hopefully they can think about making that a bit better in the future for this one. As always though, hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shea, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.